Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so today we will start with society. But before starting with society, we should know what are the patterns, what are the variables, and how a society should be approached, particularly for UPSC. So, do you know how much marks, what are the marks of which UPSC asks the question? Means total percentage in the GS paper 1 of society? Generally, they will be asked by 90 marks question. 90 marks. Okay. 3 questions will be there for 10 markers, 4 questions will be there for 15 markers. So, have you seen the patterns and the types of question that UPSC is asking? And what are the base sources for that? What you people are referring?
NCERT books, once I read in 11, 12.
Okay. See, so we will today, take a brief introduction. Starting that what a means question wants. Now, the questions are intended to assess your overall intellectual depth and knowledge rather than range of information. Say for example, if I am asking that how traditions are converging with modernity. Okay. So there is a trend among the students that they will write more in a funny way that people are wearing kurta with jeans, or newly married people are going for honeymoon in this much chuda or chudi, whatever it is called in Andaman, in a rather small clothes. Okay, so this is not the example. Your example should be very broad based. For example, how individual is converging with collectivity. Means we are voting, we are democratic country, yet we are voting on the basis of our caste. So this is one of the broad example, not kurta made jeans or pizza made paneer tikka. This should not be the example. Okay, so now sources are important, but the question is written in such a way, asked in such a way that anybody can answer, that anybody who is reading the newspaper. So the newspaper is very much important for understanding or for writing what is going on in sociology. For example, last year there was a news during the lockdown, that highlighted the phenomena of Delhi Boys Club. Are you aware with such thing? Delhi Boys, BOIS. No, still, no? I think there was this group on Instagram and they used to make very misogynist comment and sexist comment about their classmates, particularly girl. So this is one of the phenomena, and they were, students of hardly 7th, 8th or 9th, 10th. So how this is happening in the society and why this is happening in the society? So you have to go into the root of this. That what are the reasons? That what are the reasons that people or generally parents emphasizes upon girls' education on the one hand and forces them to marry a groom of their own choice. So there is some certain kind of paradox. Girls' education in India itself is modernity, but intercaste marriage is something which is not to be think of. 2. So probably while analyzing the broader terms in the paper, you have to understand why this is happening. You have to understand that for a failure in match with Pakistan, why Muhammad Sami is trolled. That, why people generally are offended when Anushka Sharma goes to watch the match with Virat Kohli. So these are the things. It is very mentioned very implicitly in newspaper. And you have to read those examples, read those news which are frequently reoccurring or reappearing in the news, not some isolated event. Okay, so this is how you should approach the paper. Now, the third point is, the question will be such that it is general awareness of variety of subject which will have relevance to the civil services. This is what I was talking about, that it should keep reappearing in the newspaper. Like the issues a particularly woman or a children or a boy, even boy faced during COVID lockdowns. Okay, so what are the trends? What will be the implication? What could have been the repercussions? So these are the things that you have to focus on in the newspaper. Like I told you that, probably trolling or saying negative words about Muhammad Sami because he bought not well fairly, implies a certain kind of behavioral reaction. But what is the root for such reaction? Why there is so much crystallizations against a minority baller? So you have to understand all these. Now, ability to analyze, take a view on conflicting social economical goal. Like that, how caste has a different manifestation now. Means see, caste is not about ki you are Brahmin and you are Dalit. Now there is some economic motive also, apart from the presence of the traditional that was going on. So there is a socio-economic conflict and socio-economic conflict in the goals. So this should be your answer. Now this is very important, that your answer should be relevant and succinct. What does these words mean? Relevant and succinct. Succinct means to describe anything precisely. You have to be very precise while answering your question. To the point. And relevant, you understand. So, you have a limitation of time. You have a paucity of time in examination. You have to answer each question within 7 minutes. So first, there should be conceptual clarity. There should be relevant understanding. And you have to play with the words. Wordplay is very important. Probably, say for example, you all must be aware with this social capital. There is this word which frequently reappears in the news. Okay, so probably writing all the kinship and group and such other thing, you can directly write social capital and move ahead. It should be generally used in the newspaper. Now, so what is syllabus? You must all be aware with the syllabus, okay? Now, salient feature of the Indian society. Okay, salient feature of the Indian society. Now, this in itself is very broad topic. Everything you can think of can come under this, because Indian society is literally very diversified, and there are elements of traditions and continuity. So, this is very important topic. Anything you can think of, from modernization, from relative deprivation, globalization, and the cultural change. That how India is still maintaining its resilience even in the changing phase of the society. Okay, so this will take a significant amount of time, and subsequently we will move ahead. But before going into that, there are some concepts, like for example, most of you are aware with what culture means, or what is the definition of culture. So these are the things. There are culture, there is tradition. Like you have been reading the newspaper that Hindu right-wingers are opposing the Supreme Court and the government verdict on burning of the crackers. They are saying that it is a part of our tradition. But burning the cracker, is it part of our tradition? Or is it a part of our heritage? No, it has never been so. We are never aware with barood or gunpowder. Okay, so how can Prabhu Shri Ram and his gaonwala, okay, so probably they will find some obscure passage and prove that, okay, this is part of our tradition. but or custom or culture. They use this word interchangeably, but there is a fine difference between these words. And if you won't understand these words, you won't, be able to answer question with succinctness. So this topic will encompass that, because I told you that this will be a big topic. Now, role of women and women's organization. It will be related with everything in this topic. Everything. Like last year there was a question, economy and population. Okay, it was related to that. So it is not only related to that, but everything you can think of, everything that is mentioned in the syllabus. See, fertility is related with urbanization, fertility is related with globalization, fertility is related with tradition. For example, you have seen the people that there is often this tendency among even the educated sections of the Muslim that they won't go for any contraceptive methods. And this has been visualized in the Catholic Christians also, not Protestant, Catholic. Why? So in some amount you can say that abortion is decried in both Muslims and Christians. So fertility of a woman is also related with culture. Now, this has been changing. This has been changing as there we are witnessing the phenomena of dual career family, where both husband and wife is working. So they will naturally try to constrain or control or curtail their fertility. 2-child norms will be followed. In India, generally it is said that 2-child are followed. In Scandinavian countries, that is not the case. They are going with no children. When they think that there is need of children, they adopt some. Okay. So this is another feature. Population and associated issues. Again, it will be very interdisciplinary in nature. You look lost. Are you following it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, both these topics, population and associated issues. And this is very important because His Holiness Modi ji is again trying to control the population by enacting so many laws, which we have seen, and it has been frequently in the news.
Recently, UP has approved.
Yes, 2-child norms. Okay, so this is, and there are so many things that is to be discussed upon this issue also. That how society is moving, where last like few years back, before 90s, children were considered asset. Now they are being considered as a liability. So you will see that there is a lot to be followed in this subject, poverty and developmental issues. Now, poverty. Is globalization changing poverty? What is absolute poverty? What is relative poverty? What will be the impact of urbanization on poverty? What will be the impact of fertility on poverty? Okay, so again this is very broad topic. Urbanization, their problems and their remedies. Now, when we will discuss urbanization, then what is the corollary to urbanization is migration. Without migration, there can be no urbanization.
It's not possible.
The
With-
population increase is one of the reasons of
Population increases because of many reasons. I told you that all
This
the
is also
It is a
leads
reason
to
to
urbanization.
yes,
It leads to urbanization.
Huh. But only if a city is urbanizing because of population increase, then there will be a dystopian urbanization. Understand the meaning of dystopia? Oh, see, basically, just consider it now that Mumbai is urbanizing as a very rapid pace. Okay, and it is urbanizing because of migration. As they call that, all the bhaiyas from UP and Bihar generally migrate to UP, and hence it is urbanizing. There is Navi Mumbai, there is Panvel, there is Raigad. Okay, so all the things are happening. But there is a sense of dystopia. There is a sense of darkness. There is a loss of value. Urbanization is considered with increased production, but these people are earning on a very low wages, living in a ghetto-like condition. Most of the people are living in slum-like condition. So, should there be planned urbanization? What are the benefits of planned urbanization? What are the benefits of unplanned urbanization? Is there any hidden urbanization? Like you will see there are 33,000 villages in Delhi. Is this part urbanized? Or Noida? Consider this Noida or Greater Noida or Bulandshahr. These parts are also urbanized. But they are urbanized because they are in the vicinity of Delhi. So again, but you know how much impact of urbanization is there on the family norms? Okay, how much impact of urbanization is there on the identity? Yeah, you must have heard that there is a dialogue in every movie. अच्छा शहर गए हो तो बदल गए हो. Okay. So these are the things. Then probably city changes you. Means your identity is being changed in the urban cities. You are thinking in a very broad perspective. But at the same time you are living in a city and you are killing your daughters. Infanticide, feticide. Okay, so city is not changing you. So these are the things that will follow urbanization, their problems and their remedies. Now, effect of globalization on Indian society, and for quite some years this has been a favorite topic of UPSC. It is asked in essay, it is asked in society paper. Some elements are also there in paper 2 and paper 3. So globalization in itself is a big topic, and now recently we have witnessed that there has been 30 years of globalization. So what are the impacts on the family norms, on the children, on urbanization, on overall administration, on poverty, on women's organization? So again it will be interdisciplinary in nature. Social empowerment, communalism, regionalism and secularism. Now with social empowerment, who is getting socially empowered? Bhai, there has been a trend of social empowerment, of feminism. We are witnessing the phenomena of feminism everywhere. Yet, Kareena Kapoor, one of the tall names in Bollywood and a heroine, she never considered herself as a feminist. Why? Because she knows that there will be a certain retaliation by the majority population for being called feminist. And it has been witnessed in many countries, even in developed countries like South Korea, where when a actress called herself as a feminist, there was a massive vituperative trolling happened, and she has to delete the post. So is it limited to India only? We can see that it is happening in all across the world. So why there is such a bad name associated with feminism? Okay, so are they empowering, or it is just a charade? It is just a facade that women are getting empowered by going to the clubs. So it has certain remedial condition, but again it has some problematic association also. So we can say that social empowerment will be again interesting topic. See, everything what you are what you will read in Indian society is concerned with your daily life. There will be words because it is somehow included in the syllabus, so there will be some jargonized word, but most of the things that you will witness is you yourself are seeing in daily life. What you need to understand is how to write an answer. Communalism. Every other day there is a communalism, news of communalism, somewhere mob lynching because of cow. Okay, mob lynching because of anything. Mob lynching is also happening when on WhatsApp forward.
So, honor killing will also come under communalism. Honor killing will also come under communalism.
What's your name? Prachi. Okay, yes, Prachi. See, probably when we will talk about communalism, then we will understand that there is a difference between what is perceived as Indian communalism and what is perceived as Western communalism. That is the same thing that is we will witness with the secularism also. See, communalism emanates from community. Okay, so the definition of community is different in West.
Based on the territorial, it will be changes.
Yeah, no, it based not on based territory, based on particularly our communism is related with only with religion. Yes. And in at there we see the phenomena of ethnicity. Okay, that you will be, particularly in Western country, most of the Indians, or for that matter any of the migrants, face certain kind of deprivation or particularly labeling. Okay, they are Indians and they will do this. So that is emanating from the community itself. So there is a difference. So honor killing is happening inside the caste. So we cannot attribute the term communalism to it. We will.
Racism and communalism is different also. Colored communalism and racism are totally different.
Yes, communalism and racism will be, probably ethnicity is an important criteria in that case category, na? Racism is a different topic that will be considered under relevant issues in the social sciences, and particularly if we are talking about the feminism, then here we will discuss role of women's organization. Fourth topic is regionalism, which we have witnessed quite recently during the COVID times. You have seen it, that nearly most of the state government was saying that we will admit only those patients who are from our state.
Only our state college. They are already blocked state national IAS.
Yes, there is the issues of reservation in Andhra Pradesh.
Yes, sir. Telangana and
Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. There are issues of affirmative domicile-based action in Jharkhand. There is a growing tendency towards subnationalism. We have seen subnationalism during the times of Tamil agitation on Hindi language. Okay, so subnationalism, and how much forms it will manifest. Is it good for nationalism? It is good for cooperative federalism? It good for India, or it is against India? That is the issue. You have seen right now there is a conflict going on between Kerala and Tamil Nadu on water sharing agreement.
water disputes.
Okay, so all these will be covered. Basically that is a part of paper 2 and paper 3. But some relevance will be found here in this. Regionalism. No. Secularism. It is the key word. This word runs our country. If you are aligned with somebody's interest, then you are secular. If you are not aligned with, you are communal. Okay, so this word is very important, and it is a particularly defining flavor and favor from the UPSC. Okay, so you have to keep repeating it. So, but essentially, what does secularism means? Okay, so these are the things. These are the things that you will find in the newspaper. These are the things that will keep reappearing. And when you will read the newspaper, you have to find that how any particular article or any particular news is related with all these. Now, this was a brief introduction about our syllabus. Now, as we were discussing, salient feature of Indian society, diversity in India. Okay. Rural-urban setting, urbans, caste, tribe. You don't have to write it. Okay, I will tell you when to write. Okay. See, basically, it is a brief introduction, so probably we will follow up the questions. Introductory lecture is generally like that. Okay. Caste, tribe, parochial identity base. You understand the meaning of parochial? What does parochial means?
It will come from the
Huh? No, don't use Veda.
Sir?
These are dangerous. You told me something like it comes from Veda.
No, I know, sir, that parochial.
Parochial means something which is very ancient, primitive, identity based. Okay, parochiality. Okay, so parochial identity based. When you are using your caste and such other things, then you will use parochial. Religion, parochial, because it is not in consonance with the modernity that is we are witnessing now. Okay, so parochial identity based group, caste based affiliation. Like, probably if you will see, then there was a combination called Muslim Yadav combination which runs the government, used to run the government before our Yogi ji got the power. Okay, so but particularly while talking about the Muslim Yadav, see, both Muslims and Yadavs are antithetical to each other when the ritualistic aspect are concerned. They are literally in keep antagonism. But now when it comes to political power, now when it comes to material goal, okay, not only they came together but re in the government. So how it is happening? Yet we are voting on the parochial identities. There are so many combinations, like we have witnessed the combination in Karnataka, we have witnessed the combination in Gujarat, where two mutually antithetical castes to each other are coming together, converging and forming the government. Okay. This is happening only in India. Caste-based voting. See, democracy in itself is a very spiritual concept. Spiritual is the word that we can say is not generally associated with democracy. But if you will try to analyze that, democracy gives you the freedom to be what you want to be. Essentially, it is spirituality. So, and that is an individual phenomena. Yet we are voting en masse on blocks in a community format. Okay, so that is why it will considered as a salient feature of Indian society. Third, regional and assimilation associated with the point of difference. Religion and assimilation, Hindu, Muslim, Christians. Okay, even this year there was a case filed in Kerala High Court which was discussing that there is a presence of caste even among the Christians. Okay, so is caste only associated with the Hindu, or is it associated with all the caste? All the religious groups in India. There is problem of Parsis. Now we have run not successfully, but somehow the government has already initiated the schemes like this Geo-Parsi. Are you aware with that? See, fertility is very low in Parsi community in India. Age of marriage is like 38, 39. And nearly 30% of the Parsi adult never get married. And even when they get married, there is the age of marriage is very late. So naturally there will be repercussions on the fertility. So they are facing the problem of population. In the way means their population is decreasing continuously. See Ratan Tata, he has so much money. Okay, yet he is not married. So this is the tendency that we will witness in the generally Parsi community in India. On the other hand, if we will come to the Muslim community, then we will see that the fertility is very high, as alleged by the BJP government. But if we will point to the data, then it is not so high. Yes, but as they are poor community, children will always be a asset for them, which will contribute to the labor. And hence, if you will try to impose the two-child norm policy, then there will be consequences. Okay, there will be alienation, which will again increase communalism. Just let me give you an insight that one-child policy was imposed in China. And what was the repercussions? Chinese in themselves are not feeling the repercussions. It is the Pakistani who are feeling the repercussions. Okay, you are getting the
After they changed, so for 2 more than.
Yes, they changed it to 7. So this sex ratio was around 797. So they are getting their brides from China, Pakistan, from Cambodia, from North Korea. And there are so many companies which have mushroomed up to in China. So many companies. They give the guarantee that I will get you a wife. And if your wife will run away after 1 year, then we will return the money. Okay. So such kind of programs are going on in China.
So what can you explain?
See, there are so many companies are there in China which have sprung up in the latest times. So they arrange for the bride from near countries, from Cambodia, from Vietnam, from North Korea, the poor countries. In Pakistan, because of their father-son relation, mutual dependency, Pakistan has also been added to this list. So there are so many programs, offers, like you go to the real estate sector right now, you will get lot many offers. So there are offers that if your wife will run away within 1 year, okay, we will refund the money. If your wife will run away within 3 years, then we will find you an alternate wife. So such kind of offer is going on in China. Okay, why? Because sex ratio is 797. Those people who are bit intelligent, bit nerd type of people, they are being provided by facilities by the government. Okay, again there is a gradation among these wives also. The Russian wives are very costly. Okay, now same phenomena is witnessed in India also. Those people are facing the problems in Haryana, are getting their wives from the relative poorer state of the India. Northeast, Bihar, West Bengal. And you will see, as we will progress, that you will see it was because of the Green Revolution. One of the very contributing factor towards it was the Green Revolution. Why? Because the value of women decreased. Initially they used to contribute in the agricultural labor, but with Green Revolution and with mechanization, the overall value of the woman decreased. So this is one of the factors because of which we have seen that there is a very much skewed sex ratio. Now, education. Do you think that with education, these kind of tendencies, parochialities will finish or at least mitigate? Because Sikh and Jains are the most educated community in India, but if you will see their sex ratio, it is the most adverse. So education is not helping them. Okay, so these are the features which are salient to Indian society, particularly Indian society in general, and means South Asia in particular. Indian society in particular and South Asia in general. You will find these tendencies among the Pakistanis also. Bangladesh is relatively, gender equity can be found, but in India and in Pakistan, such tendencies are often being witnessed. From honor calling to dowry system, everything is there. So these are the features which are very salient to India. Now, questions that were asked. What makes Indian society unique in sustaining its culture? Sustaining its culture. It was the question of 2019. Means why the culture? Because we are getting modernized. Okay, even with such amount of modernization, why Indian culture is still able to sustain the hangover of the past? So you have to think about it. What are the factors? Now, do we have cultural pockets of small India all over the nation? So this word is very important if you have to understand it. The cultural pockets of small India. There is a certain kind of uniformity in this question, and this you have to understand by the newspaper. It was in, I believe, question of 2019, and at that time you will see that there was a conflict going on in Karnataka vis-a-vis that regional flag. Okay. Caste system is assuming new identities and associational forms. Hence, caste system cannot be eradicated in India. 2019, the era of Modi ji, re-election, social engineering. Okay, so if you will, and particularly even there was some Chandrasekhar Ravan from UP. Okay, his name was Chandrasekhar. After that, he changed it to Chandrasekhar Ravan. Because Ravan was a thing or particularly aspect of tradition which is not appreciated by the Indians, or it is overlapped in the bigger Indian culture. Probably every other time due to some festival you will hear the news that some people consider Mahisasur as their god. So in the homogenizing tendencies, such things are somehow missed. Particularly, for example, before this Muslim personal law was enacted and a homogenization occurred in India, there were significant populations of Muslims in India who used to follow the Hindu tradition, largely Hindu tradition of burning their dead. But after the enactment of personal law, there was a tendency towards homogenization. And even now you will see that in particular some communities in India, for example Lingayat, yes, burning is not preferred. Now, See, the spirit, tolerance and love is not an interesting feature of Indian society from very early times, but it is also playing an important part in the present. 2019 question. Say, for example, there was an opinion of the very famous writer that if the population density and the population growth in the Europe has been same as the India, we would have witnessed mass killing, riots and homicides. Okay, I think there is this David, I think this book is called Santaram. It was a very famous book at one point of time. So he said that it is because of the love that Indians show in their public life. Most often you will see that people smile at each other in metros or in Mumbai local. So that love has been growing eventually. This significant, even if you will see that you will during the times of CA protest or farmers law, those people who were not farmers also participated in that. It was because of the compassion, it was because of the empathy. So again, see, even if you haven't studied society, you will be able to answer it. But how to answer with succinctness and relevance will be taught. Okay, now, religiousness and religiosity. How communalism transformed the latter into independent India. Part of C. These all are from the salient features. That how India is different. In the context of diversity of India, can it be said that the regions form cultural units rather than the states? If you are living on the periphery of a particular state, you will see there are traits of cultural convergence. Like what is witnessed in Karnataka and Maharashtra on the border. What is witnessed in eastern UP and Bihar. There is very much influence of Bengal culture in the part which is very adjacent to Bihar. Okay, so how it happens? What are the dominant form? Even we are not connected, but we are still seeing Americanization of our tradition. People are using bro for no use. Huh? Nowadays everyone use it. So somehow it is Americanization. On the reverse we can say that that has not been their culture. It is our culture that we, even to unknown people, we said uncle, auntie, bhaiya. Okay, why it is happening? So these are the parts which we have to understand. It is very important before venturing into any subject to understand the nature and features of the question that are being asked. That's why I am showing you these questions. It is very important. If you want, probably you can get this topic wise or get anywhere, but you have to read the question and you have to understand this, why such questions are being asked. Okay. What are the two major legal initiatives by the states and independents addressing the discrimination against the scheduled tribes? Now you have to understand this, that what does legal mean in this essence? Is it constitutional or is it just normal legal procedures? Discriminations against the scheduled tribes. Huh? Yes. Anything can be, you can quote the fundamental rights also, or some particular things like tribal administrative area and tribal panchils. There are so many things which is not mentioned in the constitution but does have a legal implication. Now, as the formation of linguistics strengthened or the cause of Indian unity. Regionalism. What are the why are the tribals in India referred as scheduled tribes? Indicate the two major provisions enshrined in the constitution for their upliftment. Mahatma Gandhi, R. Ambedkar. No, both does have a big bearing on the society. Why? Because they have their perspective, they had their perspective to see the society and how it functions. At one point of time, Mahatma Gandhi was not in favor of abolition of caste. And Ambedkar was for complete annihilation of the caste. Okay, for Gandhi, caste division represented the stratification in the society for a well-functioning society. For Ambedkar, it was a tool of oppression. So, and moreover, it is a recurring debate in the newspaper. Every other month you will find somebody is mentioning this. Okay, describe any 4 cultural elements of diversity in India and rate their significance in building a national identity. Debate the issues of whether and how contemporary movements for assertion of Dalit identity works towards the annihilation of the caste. Why? There is. Are you facing any problem in saying the question? Should I? You have seen many people, particularly those people who have this Brahman, Rajput, Jats written on their number plates. Gujar number plate in Delhi, and this is a particularly phenomena. Now I have not been to many places, but this is a
In AP, every vehicle the
Reddy. So probably what you will see that both Jat, Gujar, Rajput, Brahman, Reddis, Vokaligas, Kamas are the dominant caste in India, or the caste who rule the roost. Yadav also. Okay. But have you ever seen a number plate which has written Chamar or Mahar over it? No. But it has been increasing. You will find that there are people who write Chamar on their number plate, bike's number plate or car number plate. Now they are being assertive about their identities. Initially, they use their caste names, but now they are using their one identity, which is the identity of Dalit. Dalit means oppressed. So oppression is providing them an identity, and you will see even in Delhi metro that nowadays people started carrying their bags in which Chamar or particularly their caste name is written. There is a Dalit rap on the YouTube. Now it has become a medium to protest. Initially there was literally heterogenization of the Dalit identity in India. There was gradation among the Dalits in India. Like there's this movie, I believe that most of you have seen it, this movie Article 15.
Yes, sir.
So this guy who played a Dalit role in that movie, he refers to someone who says, was also in Dalit, so कि हम उनके हाथ का छुआ हुआ नहीं खाते. So there is a hierarchy among them even also. Okay, so now that hierarchy is somewhat eroding. So they are becoming assertive. Caste conflict is not only there because of there is atrocities being done on the is committed on the Dalit caste. It is also because there is an assertion by the Dalits. You see this that Chandrasekhar Ravan wala case. You have seen that, na? You are aware with Chandrasekhar Ravan, na? I think there was this case and it somehow turned into a national movement that started from the UP itself, or Rohit Vemula. Rohit Vemula case. See, it was an isolated event, but it tinged on the sentiment of the common people all across India. So, identity was being created. So, you have to understand this. Assertiveness. Because of that assertiveness, see, in that case, assertiveness was not there. In this Chandrasekhar Ravan wala case, assertiveness was there. Riding a horse is a phenomena which you often associate with Rajputs in India, particularly for their marriage procession. And Now they were moving up in the order because of the money they were earning. They wanted to mimic this, or they wanted to assert their identity by riding on a horse, and that became in contention between different castes in that UP village, Saharanpur. So there was a caste conflict we witnessed there. Okay, so these are the tendencies that you have to read in the newspaper, and particularly you should have an ability to analyze this. Now, what should be the analysis of these questions that you have just saw? That you cannot compartmentalize any topic. Every topic is of interdisciplinary nature. Two, that you have to have an holistic understanding of any topic, and it should not be based on your personal perception. It should not include your personal bias or prejudice. Okay, and you have to explore the topic in different dimensions. You have to understand the topic in different dimensions. Fact, data, example, case study, you have to find it in the newspaper. But the focus should be on certain tendencies that is common among them. You have to identify those tendencies that is common among them. Now, resources is very famous. Ram Ahuja. You can refer Ram Ahuja. It is a very lengthy book, but as there is no consolidated material, most people are referring to it. NCRT is good, and class notes and the notes provided by the LUKMAAN IAS will be good, which you will get at the end of this cycle. Model test answer will be a good source. Newspaper and the insight that you will get from the newspaper will further help you. I will take up a news which has been very famous nowadays, and probably every time other day you will open up this or any of the social media website, you will always find that they are talking about a particular person who is dead, but whose ghost is keep haunting all the rational mind in India as of now. And I must say that rationality is not the thing that is found in India nowadays. Okay, but probably every other day you will find, you will open this social media website like Facebook or Twitter or such other thing. You will find Justice for Sushant Singh Rajput. An acronym has been given SSR. Okay, every other day PMO do some justice, CBI open up the case, every other day. And moreover, you will probably in the morning, if you will open the social media page, then there is also asking for the justice for this Baba, that I am the rocks love charger wala Baba, messenger of the God, Guru Meet Singh Insan Singh Rahim Ram Rahim Jai Insan. Okay, and even for Atma Ram, now he is dying, what justice will you give him? Okay, so these are the things, but every other day you will find. So we will take up the case which for literally all across people all across India are seeking justice. Okay, and how the narratives are being made, because media is completely all about the narratives. This was the guy, and his ghost is haunting the rational minds in India. Now, if you were reading and if you are into the news of this Sushant Singh Rajput, then you will understand. What was the background of Sushant Singh Rajput? Actor, but before that he was a middle class guy.
Yes, he is from Bihar and he did engineering from Delhi.
Yes, see, she is aware. She is the one asking for the justice for Sushant. Okay. Now, see, 4 elder sisters.
He was intelligent too in his college days.
He was IAS student.
Yes. See, that is the thing that we need to identify.
He
that why he's getting the sympathy.
He loved his mother so much, and she died
Just before like a month.
few years
Okay.
before his death or
Uh-huh.
I don't remember exactly.
So you have to remember the general tendencies that we will find in the Sushant Singh Rajput case. Okay, we don't have to remember all the background that is there to be associated with them. We have to identify certain patterns. Now, the same thing that you have been saying, 4 elder sister. So, if you are particularly in a patriarchal state like India, if 4 sisters elder to you, then you will be literally pop-up boy. Okay, your every demand will be met, and particularly, I believe his father was a government servant. Okay, now loss. As you were saying that he lost his mother, migration from Bihar to Delhi, patterned behavior, aspirations and career change from, as you were saying that he was an intelligent student, and he shifted to Bollywood, which was a literally dark or uncharted territory for him. Okay, social conditioning and uprooting of the moral values. Even if you have migrated from your small state or particularly small district to Delhi, that you will find that there is so much thing has changed. Okay, you were living a different life at that place, and now certainly you are thrown into this preparatory part, and you will see that your life has completely changed. Half the time you are not able to make sense of the things. It has been decreasing because of the presence of the social media, but just think about it, that a student who is completely of Bihari mindset, okay, and he suddenly gets so much fame, and his codes, moral codes were changing. Now his referral group were changing. Initially his referral group was those people who are still, who's Sushant Singh Rajput's batchmate, who either came for the preparation or went to some corporate sector. So that is, we as a middle class, we think differently. And here, the consumerism is the ethos. There is a very famous word, particularly, and it is a word that has often been used in sociology. It is called prostitution of the personality. Saying that even if you will find certain conditions, particularly those people who are employed, newsreaders, even in case of deaths in their home, they have to laugh, they have to carry on their works, even in the face of an emotional upheaval. So if what is going on in their life, they have to laugh, they have to behave in a manner which is considered dignified by their peers, not us. We are of a different class. Okay, so all these conditions means 4 elder sister and the consequence. Okay, loss and the emotional upheaval, migration, and certainly the change that he was seeing in behavior, in his reference group. Okay, aspirations. See, it is the aspiration that is creating problems in the modern society. If aspiration is limited, it will not create. But now what we are witnessing is infinite aspiration. Are you following it? No? Infinite aspiration. First, I want to become an IAS, so I will join the coaching. Fine, you become an IAS. Now you will be wanting to join some cadre, which definitely will be your home cadre. Okay, so either your rank will be good, after then you will get your home cadre, or naturally you will marry someone in the academy and your cadre will be transferred, or you will go to the code on some frivolous background to change your cadre, which we have seen that there was this news, I think last week in the Supreme Court, that a Kerala cadre IAS who was posted in Himachal wanted to change the cadre based on this frivolity. Okay, so there is an aspiration, and after in the civil services line you will definitely want to be secretary of some good department. So the aspiration keeps on increasing, and it is the aspiration that is causing so much problem. Okay, so probably right now, after a mobile phone of iPhone, you will want all the Apple ecosystem. After that, you start wanting this smart home features. So we are developing in such a consumerist way that aspiration is killing us, and we are not even realizing it. So he has this aspiration, outsider. भैया करण जौहर जहां बैठे होंगे तो डायनेस्टी तो रूल होगा. And see, dynasty is not a bad thing. What they are feeling is ki, everybody is saying that even in India political is dynastic based, in Bollywood political is dynastic based. So probably if you will try to analyze the trends, then you will find that there is a thing called cultural capital. Are you aware with it? See, basically a boy whose parents are professor will have more proficiency in that particular subject of which he is a professor than a common citizen whose father is a working class man. So he is getting certain kind of culture, and because of that culture he is moving up in the order. So it is natural that a son of a actor will become an actor, because he is getting his cultural capital is from father. It is natural that if Shatrughan Sinha is an actor, her daughter Sonakshi Sinha will be an actor, and she should have some proficiency. It is completely different thing that neither Shatrughan Sinha acted in any movie, and this is so worse, Sonakshi Sinha. So it is but natural. Okay, so he was an outsider. There is a lobby in which his promotion was, or getting the movie was postponed, and I believe it was one of the most important reasons because of which he committed suicide. Now, moral codes and the thing that he has been learning since the childhood is completely destroyed. Okay, so it will have a definitive impact. He don't know what to do in such condition, and most of the time he will often resort to some ephemeral sense of pleasure, drugs, because it gives a way out of your temporary predicament or predicament. Okay. Now, issues of mental health. He himself has highlighted something about the mental health, and this has been a tendency among the Indian, that if you want to visit some psychiatry, even those people, even if you have made your mind that I need some psychiatric solutions, by first thing that you will realize is कि भाई लोग क्या कहेंगे. That is the thing which is stopping you. Okay, so mental health is a social bearing, because half the time if you will keep saying somebody is dumb, at the end of the day he will realize he is a dumb person, and which is happening in India. It is because of this condition, this rooting, that even most of the society in India is still patriarchal. Now, his values was completely different. Changing preference of the youth cohabitions, marriage without responsibilities. In this case, I believe they were not married, they were in live-in relationship or marriage by trial relationships. Things did not work out and they fall apart. So, an acceptable behavior. See, what is your acceptable behavior according to you cannot be or may not be acceptable behavior according to me. Okay, that probably you are very much labeled or see teachers informal. I am not wearing formal, so probably half the time student won't say that I am a teacher. Okay, so this is the thing that behavior acceptability is a completely different thing altogether. Now, subsequently, we are the contractor of our times, and the discussion that will be followed is that why after the death of Sushant Singh Rajput, and even in case of India, that there is a trend towards celebrity worship. that there is a trend toward cult politics. Modi ji cannot do any wrong. Ambedkar was always right. There will be trend. The thing that we have to analyze is, what are the reasons for celebrity worship in India and why he has this social cord so much attached? Everybody knows Sushant Singh Rajput, and for most of us, we are middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class, anyone. We have this aspirations of being famous. Okay, we are like you were saying that he was into DCE. How can you judge that a person who has entered a good engineering college in class 12th is intelligent? The only objective parameter you have is his rank in the engineering examination. But probably after a while, maybe 2 or 3 years, certainly he has some other interest. Okay, maybe at that time this particular day he worked, things worked. But the aspiration, you see, everybody has some similarity with the Sushant Singh Rajput. That's why his suicide or the alleged murder finds so much synchronicity with the general public at large. His behavior. Okay, now, at the same time, the other thing that we witnessed was the vilification of Riya Sen. And she has been vilified till now. And his father or his lawyer's argument are of the kind that he was a Shravan Kumar, that he should marry, or his sister's argument also. So, how a society like Bihar emphasizes upon such aspect? It would have been same if he was from Punjab or some other part of India. That what are the particular traits of a society like Bihar which is making him an obedient son? Bihar is an agricultural society. Okay, so the modernization in agriculture society will not happen till the point they will shift their agriculture or their occupation. In agricultural society, modernity will take a very, find it very slow pace. We evolve at very slow pace. So these are the things that you need to identify in the newspaper, and these are the classificatory type with which you will write the answers. And not only in paper 1, but such tendency will also help you in essay paper also. For example, there is a rise of far right all across the world. Modi ji is a small player in that thing. He is the leader of biggest democracy, but the rise of far right is getting very much popularity across the world. What are the reasons for that? If I ask, what are the reasons for that? Is democracy losing its legitimacy? Is people are feeling that things are going out of their hand? Isn't it the failure of democracy at the first place which helped the people like Donald Trump or Johnson to rise up in the hierarchy to control the population? Isn't it the alienation of the people from the current economic system? Isn't the multinational company or transnational corporations can be blamed for such paradox or such anomaly in the democratic order? Say, for example, your representative of the parliament is voting against his will because maybe he presumes that this bill is not satisfactory for your constituency. Yet, following the party lines, he did not oppose it. Isn't this particularly, points towards that he is losing his power, and so does the constituent. It is creating a crisis of legitimacy in overall the democratic society. So, and he is the narrative setter. He definitely, see, this is another important thing, that how narrative is being set. You have to understand this. That narrative is being said that Riya Sen was a drug supplier, or his brother was a drug supplier, and he was the good boy, based on some political calculation. So the role of media is still changing, and it is evolving. It has become a manipulator of sorts. Okay. So, yeah.
So can we switch off the fan?
Okay, you want to switch off the fan? Yeah, sure.
So there,
Welcome. Now, role of women, and see, probably even in this topic, role of women in women's organization, the concept of gender, patriarchy and uniqueness to India, region, dimensions in form, application of this in Indian society, in national movement, concept of striyata, okay, forms of violence against the women, the disability imposed upon the women, legal enactments and their efficacy in pursuance of this goal, current social issues.
clear to sir.
Oh, striyata. Hey, striyata is very important in case of India. You know, you have heard this of this concept, tomboy.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Tomboy, there is no striyata in tomboy. Okay. See the feminine characteristics.
Striyatva. Okay.
Striyata, yeah. Huh. The feminine characteristics. Okay, this thing means, say, probably, see, we have witnessed that during the national movement, particularly the Gandhian movement, there was a lot of participation of the women in India. Okay, so since that day we can say that patriarchy has decreased in India. But is it the reality? Huh? That, you know, this such kind of participation, does such kind of participation empowers women or not? Huh?
So participation in movements.
The participation of women in the national movement, which was initiated by Gandhi, there was huge participation of the women. So by that logic, if women are coming outside their world of domesticity, that should empower them. Yes?
They are given a chance to come outside.
Yes. But why such kind of women, even with so much participation, did not improve the condition of women in India?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the thing is that what we have witnessed at that time was the participation of women in the national movement within the confines of striyata. Striyata here means the virtues of being a woman, that you should take care of the people who are injured, that your role is only to increase the number. Okay, that you are supposed to follow the orders which is given by the Congress High Command. It was never like that women initiated the reforms by themselves. It was only initiated by AIDWA in 1926. It was an organization for the women who initiated the reforms for the women, and that were not within the confines of the virtues of the feminine characters. You know, there is probably, if a woman if a wife demands a lot of things, then they are characterized as a initiator of domestic violence. अरे इसके डिमांड ही बड़े सही हुआ उसके साथ में. You must have heard that. Okay, so these are not within the confines of striyata. So these are the things that we have to understand. It is a very dynamic subject. Keep evolving and probably keep representing the demand of time. Now, so we will start with society, paper 1, and we will take the salient feature of Indian society. You want a break? Salient feature means, what does it means? It means the feature which are very different from the rest of the world. I told you that caste is different. I told you that our conception of patriarchy is different. I told you that even there is a difference in the definition of tribal in India. There are so many things which are changing. Okay, and it is very unique to us. But what are the general trends which is making it unique? We have to identify that. I think let him come. Now, see, for that we have to understand society. What is society? I asked you a question, what is society? That, probably we are here to study society, so any of you can tell me what is society. How should we define society?
People with the same culture, tradition,
Customs. We don't form a society as per your definition, because I believe that, four of people who are here as of now are from different states. So we
Group of people we can say.
see what you are saying, the culture, the tradition. Okay, it can be a part of society, but it in itself is not a society. See, our point of argument being is that for understanding the salient feature of Indian society, we have to identify some traits, some significant trait, or the difference which is we are witnessing with other Western countries, for that matter any other countries, that something is continuing in India. And it has been continuing in India for a quite long period of time. We have to identify that traits. So, for identifying that traits, we have to start by culture. What is culture? Can be a shared belief, knowledge.
Yes, maybe.
Huh? Okay, system of belief, knowledge, the things that has been passed from generations to generations. Okay, these can be parts of our culture. Culture can be of two types: material culture and non-material culture. The intangible things that we are getting from our previous generation,
Yes.
and the tangible things that we are getting from our generation. Okay, so again, there is a difference in culture in India from the other countries. Just let me give you, if you want dictation, no?
Sure, no.
Okay. See, the culture in India is itself very different from rest of the world. Now, talking about culture, so in the same vein we have to talk about the traditions. Because if you remember that, somehow in the very few minutes of the class, we talked about the tradition. That is burning cracker a tradition or a custom or a culture? We use this word interchangeably, na? So what is tradition? Is custom tradition? Today's custom can be a tradition of tomorrow. Okay, so you have to understand this. Today's custom can be a tradition of tomorrow. So tradition again is the shared belief. Okay, now custom. What is custom? That we follow. It can be a very area specific or family specific. It is not such widely diffused in the society. Now, on these lines, we can find that there are 4 certain traits in India which is making Indian society very different from rest of the world. Can any one of you, based on the generality we have talked, tell me that what are these traits?
Traits of what?
What is these things which is making India different from rest of the world?
Unity in diversity.
See, unity in diversity, if we are talking about it, it's fine, but probably even in United States, we will find that there is unity in diversity. So,
Joint family system.
joint family system can be one. See, as I told you, caste, tribe, joint family system, all these are a part of a thing. Okay, and we have to identify some general trends. So probably let me give you an example. First is hierarchy. I told you ना कि भाई रास्ते में हम किसी को मिलते हैं और चलते हैं तो लोग बोलते हैं नमस्ते अंकल, अंकल ये सामान दे दो. सामने वाले को भी तो लग सकता है कि ये हमारा कौन सा रिश्तेदार है. Even he is feeling why we are calling any unknown person as an uncle or भैया. So the first feature that we witnessed in India is hierarchy. Second will be holism. Third will be continuity. Continuity. And fourth will be transcendence. Fourth will be transcendence. Now, talking about hierarchy. We do have a tendency to hierarchize things. Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh and बाकी सारे गॉड इनसे नीचे हैं. यहाँ पे भी हायरार्की है हमारे यहाँ. ठीक है? So there is one tendency hierarchy. We identify things, we classify things based on their importance. So there is hierarchy among everything. Purusha Sukta myth. Are you aware with that, na? Purusha Sukta myth, you are aware that all the humanity come from the different parts of Lord Brahma, which is making no sense of rationality. Now, Brahmans came from? Yes.
Kshatriya from arms.
And according to that we are grading. Okay. So there is hierarchy in India. There is hierarchy in the Western world also. Okay. Yeah, probably there is a class dimensions to it. But that hierarchy is not the same as the hierarchy that we are witnessing in India. Say probably, I believe that most of you people are watching Hollywood movies. So then even, best friends, one who is best friend to other, he call their parents as Mr. or Miss or Mrs. whatever is their name, surname. Okay. And surname, generally name is used for very, when you have a very personal relation. So that is the trend. So hierarchy is there, but that hierarchy is not ascriptive in sense. It is based on achievement. When you are very close enough to someone, only then you will call them by first name. Okay. Second part is holism. What does holism mean? That by yourself you don't have any existence. You are son of someone, you are a man or a human, particularly a person from that particular caste, that is your identity. Okay, by yourself you don't have any existence. There is no Abhijit Jha. He is from Bihar, such and such was his caste, so and so were his parents. Okay, that is the only reality of me. By myself, I don't have any existence. Have you seen that, most of the people in India, particularly in case of marriage, generally there is a informal talk कि भाई लड़के लड़की की शादी नहीं होती है, शादी होती है उसके परिवार की. It is not that boy and girls get married. Whole family, whole village, and whole society is involved into such things. So other thing that is holism. Now compare it with Western world. Do you think that holism exists in Western world, or rather they are individual? It used to exist at one point of time, but even then the features of individualism was there. Probably we have talked about the apologies of Socrates and such other people, na? That he stood by what he said. He stood by his idea of individual. So that is another thing, that holism is a phenomena which is very much relevant in the Indian society, Indian tradition. Now third is continuity. What does continuity means? Are you into Hindu songs? Yes, Hindi songs you listen it, na? There was a very famous song, सातों जन्म तक मैं तुम्हारे साथ रहूँगा, ऐसे करके. हाँ, अरे अजय देवगन की मूवी थी, ठीक है. जो probably even just think about it. Most of the Hindi songs that we are listening nowadays somehow focuses on that, how we live with you even in afterlife. Okay, there is this bond, there is this concept of life is transcend that goes beyond this life. Even in India right now, the marriage which is happening in Hindu society is saying that it is happening for the 7 lives. Okay, so there is a sense of continuity that if you will do such work, then you will become so and so in your next life. Your previous karmas define you or determine your existence in the next birth, and birth after that, and birth after that. So there is an element of continuity in the Indian civilization. Multiple lives. Such is not the case in West. There was in the Catholics, but it was limited to this life, and after that they were called by the God. But in our theory, in our belief, karma system is very important. Okay, so that karma part continued or is a very important salient feature which makes our society different from other. Transcendence. I gave you the wrong example. The transcendence is example. I just remember I was talking about the transcendence. See, transcendence is what? You cannot question caste. If it is caste, then it is caste. There is no word to define No authority you have got to question anything. Transcendence is beyond the boundaries of time and space. You don't have any authority in front of the transcendence. So essentially these four features distinguishes India from the rest of the world, because there is concept of hierarchy but based on this worldly orientation. There is concept of, not the concept of holism. Individual is important. Continuity can be seen but is based on the rational premise. No, transcendence. Bhai, if there will be transcendence, then there will be no scope of science. है ना? Is it clear? So, now, these four features are still continuing in India and is a very salient part of our Indian civilization. But with the British, something has changed. With the British, we were thrown into the age of modernization. And what is modernization, if I ask? What is modernization?
Adopting to Western styles.
Only jeans will not make you modern. Okay, so modernization is something different, na?
Improvement of existing values.
Improvement of existing values. So if my values are right, if I'm compassionate toward you, if I respect my mother, father, am I modern? No. What should be the improvement over it? Okay.
Changing according to the changing according to the world.
Oh, changing according to the world. Then that can be called pragmatism. Modernization is generally associated with or related with increase in efficiency, predictability. Okay, or rather, as we put it, increase being rational, being universal. Okay, so that is the meaning of modernization. Now,
Based on the improvement only, efficiency and everything will come.
yes. Oh, you were saying improvement in that sense? Okay, okay.
Basic thing we need to implement only, it will be coming everything. Without improvement.
See, improvement can be material or non-material, na? Rationality is a thing being rational. Being rational is what? Being rational will be, efficient and predictable. Yes, logic.
Critical thinking.
Now we can talk about that, rationality doesn't solve the problem, but for the most of it part, rationality does solve the problem. Isn't it? How?
But
See,
even if it does not solve the problem, but it at least give us, means what is the cause of the problem?
yes, it tells you that. Anything that happens after them can be unintended consequences. But largely it will be, it will be there to solve your problem. Nobody wants to be a lohar or sonar for that matter. Nobody wants to be a blacksmith for all his life. If everybody will be if particularly people from a particular caste, the caste of blacksmith, if every is, predecessors will want to become a blacksmith, then there will be no concept of free will. And free will is very important. We are humans after all. We have this tendency to think. Okay. Now, I told you about the four features. So, coming in contact with different culture, different tradition, particularly the Western tradition. How much this has changed, and most importantly of this tradition, this was modernization, or we call modernity. That we are in the age of modernization. See, ideation means what? Ideation is a process. Transformation is a process. Transformed is an and state. Modernism will be an and state. So we are continuously evolving. We haven't reached any state of modernism. We are in the process of transformation or evolution. So as we have seen that, particularly after the English or Britain when came to India, things started changing. And now there are two types of culture who came in contact. One was the British culture and another was the Indian culture. Okay. So, what impact the English culture or the Western culture had on these four aspects that we talked about? Are we still hierarchical in order? Are we still holistic in order? Are we still following the premise of continuity? Or does transcendence is still being followed in Indian society? See, in the Indian society previously there was no concept of divorce. But now we will find that divorce is there. And leave alone divorce, so many things are there. Means particularly live-in relationships, we are witnessing it. There is no contractual obligation even. Supreme Court is not recognizing it. Okay. So how much impact does modernization had on these four things? And based on this you will identify that what has changed. I told you the tribals part. So tribals were a section who were considered, very egalitarian in principle. Tribal society is based on egalitarianism, isn't it? But nowadays we are seeing the tendency towards consumerism. There is a class among the tribal itself. So something is changing.
So they are also coming in the mainstream society. They are participating with them. They are giving education to their children and all.
Exactly. So, but the natural question that arises in your mind is that, when I talk about that transformation is taking place, I started talking with the transformation with the Western civilization. Can anybody answer me that why it hasn't started with the Islamic civilization in India? Ali?
Modernization, sir.
No. Our culture only started changing when we came in contact with the British civilization or Western culture. But before coming to that, why it hasn't changed when we came in contact with Islamic culture?
Sir, during British time they started giving education. So
Education was there previously. In fact, our education system was better in the ancient time.
So their administration and all that also played some role.
Yes, in some way we can say that. See, as we said that both Hindu culture and Mughal culture was similarly, Islamic culture was similar in the outlook. They both were inner looking culture. Okay, so but before going into that, see, India has been a land of continuous influx and migration. So our culture is very much intermixed in nature, and it has been happening since the ancient time. Okay, we see it. So what part of culture changes? What part of culture doesn't changes? Is it necessary that when a culture can come in contact with other culture, the previous culture will cease to exist, or there will be some modifications? Okay, so these are the things that we need to understand. So talking about that, I will dictate you all the things.
Can we link this change in this way that during the Mughals and means the time before the Britishers, the education system was more related with religion and all. And
See, education system was not rational. If I ask,
education system was more rational than that.
see, probably if talking about this, there is a very important theory in maths, and the theory is called graph theory. And right now, what you will see that most of the algorithm-based things is evolving based on the principle of graph theory. It is now said that the person who invented or who discovered the graph theory was British. But if you will go into the analysis, then you will realize that some forms of the graph theory were already discussed in 9th century in India, and after that improvements were made in 17th century. So saying that our education system was inferior would be a travesty.
No sir, I am not saying inferior, but the way they...
See, it was about universalization.
Yes sir.
It was not about that, how much better they had. It was about that how much efficient they had.
Yes sir.
What were the outlook?
Yes sir.
Universalization means what? That, we accept something as equal, someone as equal. See, it is the foundation of mathematics. Euclidean mathematics says all about it. That if one thing is similar to other, then essentially both things are similar. But we never considered it into Indian society. We always identified them on the basis of some traits, the traits of holism. Even the Western culture did it, but at certain point of time they started thinking differently. Okay, now, so what we were discussing was that how a culture, when it comes in contact with other culture, changes, and if it changes, how much changes will be there. See, probably in many parts of India, as if I am knowing it correctly, that this thing that Jaimal or Juta Chori wala hisab kitab hota nahi tha. है ना? No, it is with the Bollywood, and particularly with Punjabization of Bollywood, that most of the things are being followed in other parts of the country. It is a culture that we are deriving from the pictures. And most of the Bollywood is based upon the Punjab. That's why he called it Punjabization of the Bollywood. Okay, so what part of a culture will change? So somehow we define culture on the basis of two other things now. One will be inferior culture and one will be dominant culture. Okay, what is inferior culture? Say for example, if you are moving to United States, the only culture that you will follow is the great American dream of materialism. Okay, the great American dream, land of opportunities. We will want to move up in the material order, not in the spiritual order. So your culture, which was focusing till now on the spiritual order, will force you to, or you will yourself be forced into merging into the dominant culture. That's why US is called the melting pot of culture. India was a melting pot of culture. Probably when you will read the features of Indian society, there is a very important thing: syncretism and dynamism. What is syncretic? That how two different culture converges. So, if a culture, say for example, what I am talking about, that if a culture is A and it is dominant culture, and it is B, then it will become, the next culture that we will see is,
Become as a hybrid culture.
it will become A. It is a dominant culture, the dominant culture of consumerism. Okay, the dominant culture, say for example, even in India, that we are witnessing right now, like she was saying that tribals are coming into the mainstream. And if you, I think your history is about to finish, isn't it? So we generally discuss this tribal Panchsheel. What was tribal Panchsheel? You have discussed it now? Post-history modern India? Means India's history after independence?
So modern.
Oh, you haven't heard about that Ghurye-Alvin debate? No, okay. See, basically, there was this scientist, social scientist called Ghurye-Alvin. Okay, so what he wanted is that, the tribals are the people. I think I will take this up in the tribal thing or our lecture, but a brief introduction. Tribal are the people who are primitive, means primitive in their origin. So mixing them with the mainstream society will result in the, erosion of their culture, erosion of their identity, and we have to preserve it. So Alvin was in favor of isolating them to a particularly, area. That's why when you were talking about Schedule 5, Schedule 6, that was the reason. So Ghurye was a nationalist. So he said, no, tribals are backward Hindus. Okay, so they should intermix with the Hindus. And ultimately they will assimilate into the Hindus. They will become Hindus. So Nehru, who always took a middle line, say no, it is not necessary. They are a part of a different culture, though their culture should be preserved. But at the same point of time, if we will keep them isolated forever, they will not develop, like what is happening with the tribes of Andaman.
So if we continue this situation happen, we will going to be fully destroyed or their culture.
Yes, that's why I told you that if your dominant culture is meeting an inferior culture, it will finish.
It will be able to finish.
It will be finished. Some certainties will be left. Okay, but largely that will finish. Now, what you are talking about, so what did Nehru did that, probably A is dominant culture and B is person from a culture which is inferior, and if we talk about the assimilation part, then a new kind of culture will develop. So that exactly happened with the tribals in India. That was the very basic premise of tribal Panchsheel. Okay, so now what we are witnessing, that something is changing in India. Caste is changing. In urban areas, nobody gives a two-hoot about who is from which caste. It is a basically phenomena that is generally associated with the rural areas. See, basically segregation was one of the very important principles of the caste. Nobody is segregated in the urban areas and urban metros. Now, you are segregated if you are very unhygienic kind of person. Okay, so that is one different thing. But largely, segregation as a rule for purity or pollution has ceased to exist. So, now Indian culture is frequently in contact with the Western culture, though something are changing. Caste is getting a new role. And that role is that it is developing in a fashion which is completely independent. We are using too much technology. But if that technology plays with our emotion and particularly tries to hit upon certain subject, we generally goes for the former. Like we are using jeevansathi.com or sadhi.com to find ourselves a partner. But for some person, it has only become a tool for dating. Okay, so, and for other person, it has become a tool to find their bride within their own culture. See, technology in itself is a manifestations of the individuality. But we are using that technology in order to preserve something which we find is very important. So the intermixing of such thing, modernization with the four features of what we have talked, is changing the society in that order. Transcendence is also changing, continuity is changing. We have seen that marriages are changing. We have seen that caste itself is changing. We started questioning things. We started questioning religion. But essentially we haven't moved beyond religion. So there is a continuity as well as, see, continuity not in that sense, but continuity in different sense. Continuity as well as change. So the continuity which we will read up is part of the salient feature of Indian society, and the change will be the dynamic part to it. Okay, so now, any doubt till now to anyone, those who are not present in the class and those who are already there? Dominant culture, inferior culture, tradition. No doubts?
No, sir, if you continue like that, so many hybrid castes will be coming in. So many different types of hybrid systems, hybrid nothing but new castes will be coming out, sir. So what is the...
See, I told you that there are some parts which we don't want to change.
But in administrative level, it may give some of the difficult in future to handle of that particular
Okay, see, probably in that order, see, and probably going by that logic, caste was generally a system of stratification to make the society efficient. You know, probably those people who are indulged in certain occupation continue doing so. But all those occupation which we have thought about has completely gone. Agriculture, nobody is doing the agriculture on the basis of caste. Rather, it is now being done on the basis of efficiency, predictability, and more production. Production in itself has become a modernized goal. Okay, it is not for the self-sustenance nowadays. So the utility of the caste in itself has ceased to exist. Caste now has become part of an identity. An identity because of three things. One, vote bank. Two, reservation. Three, marriages. The only utility of caste nowadays is only this. Okay, so hybrid caste will not develop. Okay, essentially in India it is called that a girl has a no caste. If she is married to some other caste, then she will be of that caste. Okay, now, so the first thing that we studied was culture. What is culture? A culture is, or our cultures are shared patterns of behavior and interactions for understanding the process of socialization. It helps in forming the group identity. Fostered by the social patterns that is unique to the group. Tradition. Tradition is a set of social practice which seeks to celebrate and inculcate certain norms and values implying continuity with a real or imagined past. And is usually associated with rituals or other form of symbolic behavior. Now, they can be of long-standing nature or of the relative recent past. Third point is custom. A custom is defined as a cultural idea that describes a regular pattern behavior that is a considered characteristics of a life in a social system.
So can you please repeat?
What word? Completely. A culture that is considered characteristic of a life in a social system. Based on the above three premise or three definition, we identify four type of tradition that is making Indian society different from the Western society. First is hierarchy. Hierarchy is gradation of thing based on some intangible custom or tradition. This part is clear now. Gradation of certain intangible. Intangible is important because the moment it will become tangible, it will be Western culture. Okay, second is holism. Holism is the tendency to see one as a part of collective whole. In such construct, Individual is always inferior to the group or the collective. Third is continuity or karma. It is another feature of Indian society which means the life beyond this life or the continued sense of life. Fourth is transcendence. Essentially, it means unquestionable authority. Based on these, the salient feature of Indian society can be found. These features are caste, tribes, the conception of diversity and unity, etc. However, with the modernization process of India, with the modernization of India, certain features of Indian tradition are changing. Though the culture in India has always developed in an assimilative way, of late we are seeing the phenomena of dominant culture changing the cultural tradition in India. Okay. Just tell me one thing. Do you think that in the language I've been using is tough in dictation, or is it fine?
Sir, fine.
Fine, because I generally get a complaint that I use very tough language. It's fine with everyone, those people who are present online also, or should I need to change the dictation style? Okay, so probably tomorrow we will continue with all the things, okay, that we have left now. The salient feature will be part. Okay.